everyone present here. It is truly a matter of immense pride and joy for me to welcome you all to this very special occasion. I extend my heartfelt greetings to our Honorable Senior Professor Ajay Kumar Singh Sir, our respected Director Professor Dr. Mahesh Sharma Sir, respected Registrar Dr. R.S. Singh Sir, and our esteemed guest speakers, respected faculty members, and my dear fellow students. I, Tanvi, student of BBA, batch of 2024-28, I feel deeply honored to stand before you today at the 55th online interactive session hosted by the Delhi School of Professional Studies and Research, an institution renowned for its commitment to academic excellence, industry integration, and the holistic development of future leaders. Today's session marks yet another milestone in our collective pursuit of knowledge, insight, and transformation. It's not just an event, it's a step forward in our lifelong learning journey. It's a space where ideas are exchanged, minds are inspired, and potential is ignited. At DSPSR, we believe that education transcends the boundaries of textbooks. True learning begins when theory meets practice and when classrooms extend into conversation with real world leaders. This theme, leadership development, is not only timely but also essential in shaping us into responsible professionals and change makers of tomorrow. It is with great pleasure that we welcome Shri Aadesh Goyal sir, who joins us today as our respected session speaker. We are equally pleased to have Shri Ravindra Sharan sir as the moderator of the session. We sincerely thank both of you for being here and for a willingness to share your insights and experience with us. We welcome you both, sir. To, com- to commence this session, on an auspicious note, let us now take part in a symbolic ritual, the lighting of the virtual lamp. This act represents the removal of darkness and the ushering in of wisdom and enlightenment. May this flame of knowledge guide us toward clarity, confidence, and leadership in the days ahead. With this, I would now request Arun sir to kindly play the virtual lamp lighting video. Thank you, sir. It is with great honor and immense pleasure that I welcome to the distinguished speaker. Today, we are truly privileged to be in the presence of an exceptional individual, a global thought leader, a visionary professional, and an inspiring human being, Shri Aadesh Goyal sir. Shri Aadesh Goyal sir is an accomplished global professional with a remarkable track record in executive leadership, technology-led digital transformation, human resources, and leadership development. With a career that has spanned 5 continents, he has served in diverse capacities as a CXO, board director, advisor, and dedicated volunteer. He brings with him the experience of more than a dozen mergers and acquisitions and is widely regarded as a thought leader in AI driven HR innovation, bridging technology with human potential to enhance business impact and employee experience. One of his most notable contributions has been the development of future of work solutions, including learning on demand, career planning on demand, and leadership coaching on demand, all of which aim to equip professionals with future ready skills, roles, and mindsets. Currently, Sri Aadesh Goyal sir serves on the advisory boards of Ripple.ai, Degreed, and is also a member of the SAP Success Factors AI plus HR think tank. He is a director on the board of Spire.ai, a cutting edge generative AI platform that is redefining the way talent is managed. He has previously served on the boards of several prestigious companies, including those in the Tata Group, and has chaired committees on nomination and remuneration, CSR, D&I, ESG, business continuity, and workplace ethics. Beyond the corporate world, he is also a teacher of leadership development, happiness, and well being, and serves as a trustee of the Art of Living Foundation. His dedication to community service and values driven leadership makes his journey truly inspiring for all of us. Sir, we are truly honored to have you with us today. Your presence is not just a privilege, it's a powerful reminder of the kind of leadership that blends wisdom with vision, innovation with empathy, and success with service. Today, we are not only privileged to have a remarkable session ahead of us, but are also extremely fortunate to have a moderator for today's session, a visionary entrepreneur, thought leader, creative thinker, and seasoned industry expert, Sri Ravendra Sharan sir. Sri Ravendra Sharan sir is a distinguished professional and entrepreneur with a rich and diverse career. An alumnus of SRCC and FMS Delhi, he began his journey in the corporate world with leading organizations like Carware Paints, Eureka Forbes, FFC, and Xerox India, gaining expertise in channel development, product management, and marketing services. In 1994, he co founded a globally acclaimed export enterprise with his designer wife, Mrs. Savina Sharan, taking Indian handicrafts to international markets. Their client includes prestigious names like Harrods, Calvin Klein, Walmart, Tesco, and Target. Recognized at Mess Frankfurt, he has received multiple awards from APCH and Business Today for excellence in design, marketing, and global business strategy. A passionate advocate for education and youth development, he has been a great guest lecturer at NIFT Pearl Academy, a jury member at NIFT Kangra, and a speaker at the G20 Summit in Daman, addressing 46 nations on engaging young minds. Sir, your journey from corporate to creative, from entrepreneur to educator, is an inspiring tapestry of courage, innovation, and purposeful living. On behalf of the entire DSPSR family, I extend a heartfelt welcome to you, Sri Ravendra Sharan sir. We look forward to an insightful and enriching interaction under the guidance of both speaker and moderator. We again welcome you, sir, on behalf of Delhi School of Professional Studies and Research. Your valuable presence adds great strength to today's event and to all our participants joining us from different places, eager to learn and grow. Let us make this 1 hour a truly enriching experience. Now, I would like to hand over the session to Sri Ravindra Sharan sir. Please, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tanvi. It was a pleasure. You presented the case very well. And welcome to Mr. Aadesh Goyal. You are absolutely, your journey is absolutely amazing and mesmerizing. And you are the student of BITS Pilani, which is, of course, one of the more premier institutions of India. And well, why don't we start with the questions that I'm sure a lot of our students would be very keen to know. And we would be, along with me, as learning never stops, all of us would learn a lot from you, please. And all right, here we go. My first question to you is, with over 3 decades of experience across 5 continents, how have you seen the role of human resources evolve globally, especially in the context of digital transformation and AI integration, as you are a technical entrepreneur and an expert in a lot of these things?
Ravi, it's so nice to meet you, and looking forward to a very, very energizing discussion. Tanvi, thank you very much for the kind introduction, and Ajay, thank you for inviting me. So, AI is obviously very, very old in the sense, in terms of technology. The first term, I think, came 75 years ago. But in terms of its real application on a day-to-day basis that, all of us are able to use, it's perhaps only 2 years old. But for people who have been building solutions using AI at a large scale, it started to happen in the last about 5 to 10 years. Now, human resources itself has evolved very, very rapidly, especially it's relatively new field. It used to be called as personnel management earlier, and then it took the form of industrial relations. And I think HRD first became a term less than 50 years ago. So a lot has happened, and the combination of HR and AI has now produced infinite opportunities. We are only limited by our imagination on what can be achieved. I'll just give you an example of just say learning. And today, intelligent platforms are available or can be stitched together, which can be, deployed in such a manner in an organization that are hyper personalized for every user. So the platform is intelligent. It is able to know what the needs of every user are, and it keeps becoming better over time. So rather than really looking for what you need to learn on a day-to-day basis, you can simply use a platform like that, and it can help you serve all your needs and really help you to pursue the career that you want to pursue by building the right skills. Is really what I'd like to say, Raviji.
All right, that's wonderful. Yes, you are, of course, very experienced. So you know exactly what the context is, how HRD has developed in the last 50 years, and how with the AI, it is adding a new spice and a new color totally. We are living in a world where every 5 years we are transforming our lives and totally changing things. So, absolutely agree with you. You have served on numerous advisory boards and led many global HR tech strategies. How do you evaluate the alignment between emerging technology and human centric relationship? How do you do that? I mean, that there these two are very, very diverse, they're very different, and they need to have an amalgamation at any point in time in order to bring the right results. So, how do you amalgamate the two, please?
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting question. And, the headline of what I'm going to say is that AI really helps us to make everything more human and more human centric. And it's not really a either or, it's about how to power each other in such a way that we are able to achieve better outcomes for all the people involved, right? So take Netflix or Prime, for example, or any other platform like, say, Amazon, right? Now, when you use it, do you feel that you're talking to a machine, or do you feel that you're talking to somebody who understands you as a user, right? I'm sure you will feel that it is the latter, right? So although you are talking to a solution, but it somehow anticipates your needs, and it is almost ready to serve you very quickly what you want, and more often than not, it is able to anticipate your needs. So being human means that you care for the human beings around you in your organization. And caring does not just mean that you are a nice person, you talk to them nicely, you respect them, and you are very collegial. Those are very, very important things, but those are very basic things. Caring actually means that you're doing things in a way that create better opportunities and outcomes for the people who are involved. And if you go back 20 years, what you need to learn, how are you going to learn, the tools to learn, what type of a career you want to build, was simply dependent on an employee's manager and the HR team, because there was just no other way of doing it in most companies. And today, what technology and AI have done, they have totally democratized all these resources to everyone, right? So you don't need to go to your manager or HR to figure out what you want to learn and how you want to learn. Enormous amount of very premium content is available for free, and there are platforms that show you and guide you on what could be, most relevant for you. So you no longer have to depend on somebody, and you no longer are looking for a needle in the haystack. That's what AI and HR and humanness are really able to do. So I would urge that we don't look at these as opposing forces. I think these are forces that power each other and create, 11 out of 1+1.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. Actually, it is all about synergy. It is all about the ultimate effort of, the snowballing that leads into convergence of thoughts and convergence of actions. I agree with you. Your work has been featured, Mr. Goyal. Your work has been featured in the book Talent Wins and even the prestigious Harvard Business Review. Could you share what specific strategies or innovation led to this recognition? Because this is, I think, most Indians or most professionals all the world over would strive to achieve an accomplishment like this. So please let me know what led to this uh, thought
Yeah,
process, this recognition.
yeah. This was a book written by the very very famous Dr. Ramcharan, who was once upon a time a Harvard professor, and now for the last 30, 40 years, he is an independent advisor to the boards and CEOs around the world. Now, what I believe, Dr. Ramcharan included, why he included this is the following. So HR has multiple roles. One role is that it needs to make sure that the company is complying to all the laws of every country in which you operate. So there is a compliance related role. Then there is an operations related role, right? There are certain things like, hiring and basic stuff that's happening. Then the third role is that it is helping create an environment and culture which is conducive, which is able to not only attract but to retain the best talent and really develop them, and for the future. And the fourth thing is really creating business impact. Now, in most companies, the business impact part is usually not very strong. People get stuck in the other three too much because they are well defined things. And unless a function is able to create impact, we're not really living to our full potential. So I think Dr. Ramcharan included our work at Tata Communications in his book because we were really working towards creating business outcomes. And you really do that by thinking long term, right? On a day to day basis, there is always some urgent need, there is always some crisis. And you obviously have to do your best to solve them and to address it. But if you just do that, then you aren't really solving long term problems. An example I would give is that if a company is been there for 100 years and they've built a new strategy, they are going to, transform into a new business that requires them to transform their products digitally using, say, cloud and security and, say, AI, and which means you're going to need new skills, right? Now, unless you have the right people with the right skills, this work is not going to happen. So, how do you convert this longer term strategy and mission into something that can produce results over a period of 2 to 4 years and help company achieve the goal? So, I think in summary, what I'd like to say is that how do you create business outcomes partnering with the various functions, stakeholders, and people in the company is really the most important part of any function, including HR.
Right. Great. Uh, Tell me, Mr. Goyal, having played a significant role in over a dozen mergers and acquisitions, sorry, what are the key HR and leadership challenges that organizations face during such transitions? And how should such challenges be addressed? Am I clear in my question, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I think I would say there are three main phases of any M&A activity. I think the first one is the evaluation period, right? And during the evaluation period, you're trying to figure out, you're doing the due diligence, and you're looking at whether it makes sense to do the M&A, right? So it's really a go/no decision, and at that time, the things like talent, things like, especially, specifically from HR point of view, what the type of capability do they have? What organizational structure do they have? What types of policies do they have? Are there any compliance matters that need attention? And if this acquisition is multiple countries, then you need to make sure that you are good in all of those countries, right? I think the thing that gets missed most is how the fit is going to work at a human and culture level. And that's something that, even during the due diligence study period of which is going to lead to go, no go, is very, very important. So in some rare cases where the judgment is that, it may not really work out because the people are not going to be able to work together or the cultures are totally diverse, then it's possible that you don't really go through with that acquisition. I think the second phase is that you have done the integration, you have now to start working together. And this is the most, I would say, crucial period, most vulnerable period. This is where things start going wrong, because it does not matter how much due diligence we have done. You're really looking at a precipice, right? The top of the iceberg. You have only looked at the top of the iceberg. The more you get into it, the more you're going to find. And at this time, your strategy needs to be clear that, okay, are you acquiring this business for simply adding to the revenue? Are you expanding a regional market? Are you doing this for technology reasons, which is going to help you bring new technology? And the other decision is, do you want to merge the company totally in your company and that acquired company is not going to exist at all? Or it is smarter or better to let them run as an independent company, right? So if you have acquired a startup and you acquired them for their technology and they don't have that much relationship with the way you run the business, but their output or their technology is going to get leverage in your business, in many cases it is smarter to let them be for a while rather than trying to integrate, because when you integrate, the people who are acquired lose their identity for a while till they start believing in the new identity, and their culture dies, their systems die, and you lose all of that. So it's a judgment call. And the most important thing is really the human connection. The people are doubting and not trusting the company that acquired because they have, they don't know, right? There's anybody who's an acquirer is looked with a doubt by a large number of people. So you have to build human relationships, you have to build trust, and without that, things are not going to work out, right? So most acquisitions actually fail to meet their objectives primarily for this reason. So that's really the second phase. And I think the third phase is, once you have established the trust and build your credibility, then you actually start integrating. And the speed of integration, the type of integration really depends on what your business objectives are. Right? So in short, due diligence is important. If the culture is not going to fit in really outlier cases, better not to go ahead because that's the reason acquisitions fail. But in most cases, when you go through with an acquisition and or a merger, then really building the trust and making sure that the communication is clear, how are things going to happen, and keep doing this. The first 90 days are the most important, but I would say the first 1 year really decides whether it's going to succeed or not.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. The culture of any organization cannot be imposed on the other. It's extremely important that everybody thrives, everybody grows, everybody develops. I absolutely agree with you. And sometimes the conflict can be unbearable. And very often the efficiency of the acquired organization suffers if the culture of the acquirer is rather domineering. I agree with you. The next question I have for you, Mr. Goyal, is that what inspired you to create on demand platforms for learning, career planning, and leadership coaching? And how do you envision their impact on the future of work?
As they say that, a problem really becomes an inspiration. So when you're trying to solve a problem and you get focused on solving that problem, then solutions start to emerge. But the most important thing is, which is the problem, is it a problem worth solving, right? On a day-to-day basis, you have hundreds of problems that come to you, right? Or you get to know. How do you decide what you're going to pay attention to? Because every problem is not worth solving. Some problems, sometimes you call somebody for some help, that person is not available. And this person then, maybe they were on a flight. By the time they land, then they call you back. You say, no, the problem got solved, right? So a lot of problems are of the nature where they just solve. People just fall on a whim because they needed some help at that time, but they found some other solution, the problem went away. So the learning on demand or the career on demand really were longer term problems that we identified. So the example that I gave about a company trying to totally transform its business and they need new skills. Now, yes, it looks quite nice problem to solve that, okay, we're going to need people with new skills. But which skills, suppose you say cloud, but there are like 50 types of expertise in cloud or 50 types of expertise in security or 100 types of expertise in AI. And like in which country, which location, when, how many people is very, very hard to define to begin with, right? So people know that they're going to need it, different business groups in the company, different leaders, but they aren't able to define the exact requirements. And if any one of us who is in this meeting today was in that situation, we wouldn't be able to define it either because it's really a three to 5 year plan that we are pursuing. So how do you solve a problem like this? And those days, this is really 2016. Netflix had just become popular in India. The on-demand version, the streaming version of Netflix. And as you the mind is very complex, so you don't really know how do you get an idea. But when you're looking at multiple things from time to time on a regular basis, somehow the human brain keeps colliding these ideas and gives you some thoughts that you can pursue. And one such idea came to us that what if we are able to design an on-demand streaming platform for learning and create an environment where people can learn whatever they want, then you don't care about what are the exact requirements, right? So you can keep building the content, over time. And we did an experiment. We created a rough prototype and, just all the content that we already had in the company, we made that available through this prototype, and we had a lot of young people in the company, and they started using it. It was a pretty clunky prototype, but it became quite hot. So that's when we realized that this is a good solution. And when we surveyed the leaders and managers and employees, they said that we are able to learn, we are able to get the type of build the type of skills that the company might need in the future. And in a long 5-year journey, the requirement that you have not thought about today could come after 3 months or 6 months, right? And something that is very hot today may no longer be very hot 1 year from now, right? So it needs to be flexible and dynamic, and that's how learning on demand generated. So we took a product management approach rather than treating it like a project. Project means the requirements are well defined. It has a start and an end date, right? And you complete the project. It is usually short term. It could be even long term, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year. But project starts with definite goals, and the goals usually don't change over a life of the project. Where the product means you are building something for which no demand usually exists, right? So, for example, when Apple launched their iPhone, that type of phone, nobody was asking for it, right? People in their wildest dreams didn't know that a product like this, like that, could have market. So you have to take the risk, and you have to test, in some indirect way. If you're going to ask people, do you need this? People say, no, I don't know, is it going to work, not good. So you have to take an entrepreneurial approach. And when you take a product management and entrepreneurial approach, you are basically taking the view that you're solving a long-term problem, come what may. Right? If your current thinking fails, you're going to pivot and do something else. And you really don't depend on anybody for success, right? So if something goes wrong, it's on you. You need to do a better job if people are not using a product, for example. So by taking that approach, we were able to build something which is now more than 8 years, and it is going from crazy levels of success. So in 2017, when we first launched, we had only 3.5 days of learning per employee per year. But within 3 years of launch, it went to more than 7.5 days. And last year, it went to 10 days. So the amount of learning that is happening, is crazy. And people are learning not just in the office during work hours. They're learning at home. They're learning while they're commuting. They're learning on weekends, which never used to happen earlier. So sorry for the long answer, but
No.
I do hope that I answered your question.
I think you did, absolutely. And you see, learning is a culture, and it is something which you imbibe. And once you imbibe, you never stop. It never stops. It's something that goes on and on and on. You have held, Mr. Goyal, multiple roles at Tata Communication. By the way, I had the pleasure of working for the Tatas for 5 years in
Amazing.
Eureka Forbes and Forbes Campbell. And
Yeah.
their culture is something that you can be proud of. So you've held multiple roles at Tata Communication, from CHRO to Global Head of CSR and Sustainability. CSR, for the uninitiated, is corporate social responsibility, but I think everybody knows it by now. So how did you manage these multifaceted responsibilities while driving impact across domains? Now, that is an important question, because that would probably give us an insight and window into how each of us, and especially the students, need to govern their lives.
This is a very tough question, Mr. Saran, but I'll try to answer that. I think the way I see it is that we become what we want to become, right? The most we can become is we want to become. So the label that we wear on our shirt, or dress that we wear, is very important. right? So if you ask somebody who might be a student and is specializing in marketing, they'll say, I want to become a marketing professional. And my goal is to become a chief marketing officer in a big technology company or whatever. Or if you ask a person who is studying HR, they might say that, my passion is HR, and within HR, I believe the biggest impact that I can make is in learning and development, etc. What happens is when you define yourself like that, that's what becomes your area of interest. That's what you learn about. Those are the type of people that you talk to. Your life really becomes that. And when I look back, I think one of the things that happened to me was that I actually didn't know what I wanted to do, right? So uh, I was just open to anything that my company gave me. So over my long career of about 40 years, I landed up doing all roles other than legal and finance. I've done engineering, I've done sales, I've done product management, and many, many other roles. Now, why did that happen? Because since I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I had this habit of reading and learning for the last 30 years at least, I spend about 25, 30 hours of reading every week. And it's on varied topics. I really study, I read medicine, I read AI, I read business, I read sustainability, all kinds of different topics. I read a lot of fiction, I read a lot of biographies and philosophy and many, many other things. Now, what that does is it gives you breadth. And that means, you come to know more about many, many things. And, that means when you know a lot of interesting things. So when something comes that way to you, you would at least explore it. I think the second thing that I would say is that whatever role you're doing, it doesn't matter what, whether it's your area of interest or not, but you have been given a role, make the most of it. So in the first 5 years, 7 years of your career, build a real depth in that area. So you become an expert and you have breadth, because that's very important. And I would say when you get a chance, build one more area of depth. So I think once you do that, you are presenting yourself as somebody who can do multiple things and not just a very narrow specialist or a broad journalist. So today there is no place for journalists. There's only a space for specialists. But if you specialize very narrowly, that's what the opportunities are going to be. And some people will be happy with that. People get Nobel Prize because they were so narrow in their field. But if that's not what your goal is and you don't know what you're going to do, then build depth and build breadth. And do a lot of reading and talk to different people. I think these happened. It was not a plan that I had made. I think this happened, and I feel lucky that this happened because I was not smart enough to do things like this. It just happened, Mr. Sharan.
Yeah, got it. But I must tell you, I must confess that while I agree with you that you need not be a journalist today, for example, I am an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for the last 45 years, not 45, well, 10 years were in the corporate sector. But I can just tell you that even if you're not a journalist, you have to be a specialist in many, many fields. So it is not that you are a generalist, I agree, but you have to perforce specialize into so many activities, because of which then you become an efficient manager and a successful executioner of whatever you want to achieve. And when you're talking of product management, I became a product manager way back in 1984. And with Eureka Forbes and my president, Mr. Akhil Marfatia, a professional marketeer, really taught me. And the Boston Consulting Group their product portfolio analysis was extremely useful. I think that is something which stays even till today. So, yes, very few people understand the difference between product management, sales, and marketing, but it is extremely important. Okay. Now, my next
Well
question to
said.
you. Sorry. Thank you.
I'm
My
saying
next question.
well said, Mr. Sharan.
Thank you. In my, in your experience, how can organizations integrate AI into HR without compromising the human touch and emotional intelligence needed for people management? I think this is, we are more and more getting scientific and technical and more AI. And AI is a very scary thing to me. So it is being used in such multifaceted applications that you actually find uh, crazy things happening. So, yeah. So, would you like to tell me about this?
Yes, Mr. Sharan. I think what you say about AI, anything that is very powerful and has a lot of potential, can easily go wrong.
Yeah,
So it is dangerous in some ways, and one has to be very careful, especially when you're using it in a large company and when you're doing something which is people related. So you have to be very careful. See, look at the role of managers, how it has evolved, right? So typically, organization structures, 50, 60, 70 years ago, they were hierarchical. There were multiple layers of management, sometimes up to 20 layers of management. Corporate headquarters used to be at some place, factories used to be at multiple places. And some of the key things that managers used to do, one of them was that they were providing a lot of information and communication in multiple directions to their teams, right? So they were a node in the entire organizations, and the team members would look up to them for what matters, what is important, etc., etc. Number two, they had a lot of experience, and they were providing the role of coach, a mentor, transfer of skills, etc., etc. They would also help in a lot of coordination, in operation, their dependency, their need for resources and stuff like that. Now, if you see, that's how the role started. And the reality has moved much faster than how the organizations are able to change their organization structures, because organizations become large, they are well defined. Making very fast changes in large organizations is very, very tough. So we are at really a point of inflection in terms of the organization design, etc. Because today, um, you can learn a lot of stuff without really talking to any human being, right? In terms of communication, organizations, are using multiple channels, right? There are podcasts, there are broadcasts, there are social platforms within the company, there are newsletters, all kinds of things, right? There are two-way interactions all the time happening. So the role of managers has changed a lot. Now, the thing that and managers in a lot of companies, or most managers in most companies, they get so busy trying to do all this stuff of coordination, people management, resource management, that they aren't really able to spend the time on what we call as humanness, right? They would like to, but they become so busy. Only very few managers are able to prioritize that, right? Because they have to get away from all the chaos and really prioritize people. So those managers are great. And with technology, all the type that we're discussing, it really enables them further. But for the managers who weren't able to prioritize, this technology provides a great opportunity. They can now find time to prioritize people. So they can actually make the interaction more human. And what people are learning on their own, they can provide, that's the cake, but they can provide the cream and cherry on top of that. Because the actual experience of people and the understanding that they have about their team members can really help provide a multiplying factor over what people are already learning. So I would argue that technology is opening up a new world where managers now have more time. When I say managers, I'm talking about managers, leaders, HR, to do more human things that are more impactful, which they weren't able to find time for earlier. And while we're waiting for Mr. Sharan, I'd like to add that.
Yeah, sorry.
So start with transactional stuff and automate it, right? Because a lot of time is spent on transactional stuff, right? For example, you're applying for a visa, you need an employment certificate, salary details. You don't need to talk to anybody. You should be able to go on a portal in the company and generate that letter on its own because the system already knows everything about it, right? Or you're a new employee, you need to complete your onboarding, which means you have to fill a lot of forms, you have to provide certificates, information like your Aadhaar card, your bank account information, or others. Nobody needs to talk to anybody about it. Just like KYC happens with good banks today, a lot of all this stuff that takes a lot of time can be automated, and digitized, and that can leave humans to have more time to do more activities that require emotional intelligence.
Okay. Now, I have a small question to the organizers. We are already at 6:45, 6:48 to be precise. The time slot given to me was 6 to 7. I have so many interesting things to ask you. Can we extend this time or shall I cut short the questions?
No, you can extend if the speaker has the time. You can extend.
So that's fine, Dr. Singh. I will do that. And therefore, Mr. Goyal, I hope you have enough time on hand. Right?
Yes, no, I'm happy to continue. Say till about 7:15, Mr. Sharan.
No, I think it is not going to be 7:15 because I had 15 questions to ask you, and you just answered 7 so far. So you are probably going to be, you are obviously very knowledgeable. You have your own thought process, and you would like to continue with whatever you want to say, and I would love to listen to whatever you have to say. But then time waits for none, so let us take it by the way the wave goes. If you are prepared to be here till 9 o'clock, I think that would be better. Right?
Let it be 7:15. Let it be
My next
7:15.
question. No, I mean, that's entirely, the ball is in your court. I'll keep asking you questions and you are welcome to reply to them the way you want to. But eventually, time and tide waits for none. Remember, there was a very, very old one.
Absolutely.
In the hands of time. All right. So my next question to you, sir, is as a member of several CSR and nomination and remuneration committees, how do you design compensation strategies that align employee motivation with long-term shareholder value?
Yeah. So again, this is a very important and strategic question that you're asking, Mr. Sharan, and as this is a very complex matter, and as you peel the onion, it keeps becoming more and more detailed, right? So, for example, I'll give you the example of Tata Communications. So, we had about 15,000 employees in about 40 countries, and people who have worked earlier or people who are in HR would also understand this that, we had 55 job families, right? So we had about 750 unique roles, and they were split across 55 job families. Job family means roughly it's, for example, marketing would be one job family, or treasury would be another job family, or accounting would be another job family, or engineering is a very large job family, but there'll be multiple sub families within that, because you make job families because that's how you organize teams, right? And create job structures and organize teams. So for a company like that, we had approximately 7,500 unique salary ranges. There are multiple levels, say 10 levels in the company, and people from a lot of these job families are present in multiple countries, right? So suppose in a small country where you have a small presence, you may have only 5 job families and maybe 25 roles at say 5 levels. But 5 into 25 into 5 is a large number, right? 625. You need 625 salary range. When I mean salary range, suppose you say this is a software engineer. Now the salary of a software engineer in India is different from Singapore, which is different from Tokyo, which is different in Sydney, which is different in US. Now in the US, the salary of the same job is different in New York City versus say St. Louis in Midwest versus Boston and versus San Francisco, right? So there are approximately three different salaries for the same job in the US. So you have to pay the right salary for the right job. So that's one, so that's one level of complexity. The second level of complexity is there is no fair salary. So take any job and take any country, say take take a fresher's salary who is being hired as an engineer in India this year. The salary could vary from 300,000 rupees per year to 50 lakh rupees per year. Now, which one is fair? The fairness is based on that it must comply to the local law, then it is legal. The minimum salary, that the country has. The rest is really market forces. So there is no fairness in the salary per se. The fairness is a different thing which I will come to. So now each company has to decide, in that 2.5 lakh rupees to 50 lakh rupees, where are you going to peg your salary range? And that depends on what type of talent you want to attract, what type of belief you have, what type of financials do you have, and many, many other things. Right? What do you want to be known for, etc. Then you have to make sure that the right salary happens to the right person. So you have to create the right policies, and you have to create the right systems to make sure that there is fairness in the system. Once you decide where is the band in which you're going to operate, there must be fairness within that. The fairness cannot be based on market. The fairness will be within the company, and that's very, very important, right? So, for example, by fairness, I mean that somebody who is a software engineer who's been working for 2-3 years, and years are not important, but I'm saying has some level of expertise in some area, and you may have 20 different cities in India where the employee could be. You may have 20 different business units in which the employee could be working. For this exactly the same job anywhere in India, is the salary in the neighborhood of each other. That's what I would call fairness. One way of looking at fairness. So that's one. And then salary needs to be administered by managers and not just by HR, because managers know their team best. So how do you equip managers to deal with a complex issue like salary, right? And so that itself means creating the right policies and system, training the managers, and all of that. So that's one part. I think the second part is the company philosophy, right? Which means that do you believe in pay for performance, or do you believe in meritocracy? Do you believe in risk and reward? Right. So, for example, if you believe in risk and reward, you would always have a component of a variable salary in your total salary. And the more you believe in that, the higher will that component be. And that variable salary could depend on company performance, it could depend on functional or BU performance, business unit performance, and it could depend on individual performance, either of three or all three. Right? Now, company performance itself could be long-term performance or annual performance, right? So these are the choices the company make, right? And then there is a philosophy of, for example, any listed company that makes its annual report, which is mandatory, is required to publish what is the salary of the ratio of the CEO's salary and the median salary of the company. Right? Now, you have multiple forces at work. The good belief is that this must not be a very, very big ratio. So if the ratio is 100, okay, but in some companies it could be even 1,000, because CEOs today, good CEOs are in high demand and they get paid a lot. So market forces for hiring and keeping a new CEO will push the salary of the CEO higher. Whereas, it would start not looking good in your annual report. So you have to manage that. So the role of a remuneration committee at the board level is to, first of all, to make sure that they have a legal role to make sure that the salary of the key people in the company, which includes the CEO, company secretary, CFO, and all the CXOs, they have to manage that. Make sure that it is as per law. There is a proper method to the madness. It is based on the principles that the company has adopted, and that's very, very important. The second is they would also, if the charter of the remuneration committee is that they also look at how salary at the larger company level is being managed, what are the policies, what are the systems, etc., they would tend to manage it, right? So design of the annual incentive plan, design of the long-term incentive plan, design of the stock option plan, all of those really become the board matter. Right? So and this itself can go on for a long time, but since you asked me about CSR committee, I will also talk briefly about that. So both the remuneration committee and the CSR committee in companies of particular size and more are required as per Companies Act and SEBI. Right? So both are necessary for companies to have, and the majority needs to be the majority members of these committees need to be independent board members, right? And usually the chairperson is also an independent director. So the CSR committee is looking at the CSR policy of the company and making sure that it is in line with the new Companies Act, where there are, in the last 10 years, it has the details related to corporate social responsibility has become more and more specific, right? So, for example, it encourages companies to take up CSR projects which are somewhat longer term in nature, and they actually create impact rather than just simply making a donation to some charitable organization, right? Or some companies have traditionally used some of the CSR funds that benefit really the operations of the company, which are targeted towards employees, right? So, for example, a company which may be in XYZ business, if they are funding vocational skills and with the aim of hiring those beneficiaries in the same company, it is not considered as CSR. Right? So CSR committee at the board level has also become very, very important. They look at why you are doing a particular CSR project, and they also look at, are the funds being used in the right manner, and they also look at, is it really creating the desired impact, right? So if it is something about employability, then the effort that you're making, the funds that you are spending, is it actually leading to employment, right, of those people? So slightly longish answer, Mr. Saran, but did I do justice to your question? You're on mute, sir. Mr. Saran, you're on mute.
Yeah, I don't know. Accidentally, I went on mute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm saying there are questions and there are questions, and there is justice and there is justice. Ultimately, with the kind of knowledge you have, I'm sure you can go on for a long time more. But we are already at the end of the assigned time, 7 o'clock. But I would go on, as I'm told we can extend it by 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, whatever. So, yeah, ultimately, one small question, one small point I have to make, that the salary structure of any organization also depends on the market forces and the aspirations of the candidates. If you have a candidate from IIM, then his aspiration would be entirely different. And if you have a candidate from a regional office, regional college, that's a different thing. So both all these factors have to be taken into account when you are making a salary for anybody. All right. Now, my next question to you is, how do you assess the effectiveness of leadership development programs, especially when leading culturally and geographically diverse? You talked of multinationals, you talked of people based in Singapore and three different time zones of the US, all having their own cultures and things like that. So, how do you assess the effectiveness of leadership development programs with leading culturally and geographically diverse teams?
Yeah, so this is one of the toughest things to design and to measure, Mr. Sharan. So I'll give you an example, right? So let's just say there are two types of let's categorize leadership development programs into, say, two categories right now, right? There can be more categories. One category is related to, say, strategy, and how do you develop a strategy and how do you execute it. And the second one is related to, say, behavioral skills of leaders. For example, how do you lead, how do you communicate, how do you lead a multicultural team, etc., etc. So let's just take example of the first one, right? So the way, and there are multiple ways of doing it, right? I think one of the ways that I find very effective is by use of case studies and simulation. Teaching theory is very easy, but unless we practice it, it is really not going to get into our head, right? So I think about 56 years ago, there was a study done at Princeton University. It's popularly called as 70-20-10, and most people here would have heard it. That if you look at what we have become good at, 70% of it was learned by doing, 20% by through interactions with people who are good at that area, and only 10% of the classroom, right? So you create, you teach how do you develop strategy, what does it mean, what are the different levers. For example, McKinsey has a 7S model, etc., etc. And then you say, okay, what are the challenges that come into play? You talk about operations, you talk about supply chain management, you talk about all kinds of things, right? And you talk about project management, whatever. But then, how do you apply it, right? So you develop a 3-year strategy, and you make a certain plan, you make certain P&L projections based on that. on how you're going to transform. And then, after a plan is made, immediately after that, usually all the plans go wrong because something or the other will come as a situation which you didn't really put in the plan, because millions of things can happen. You can only think of a few things. So what happens is there are simulations available today using which, given a problem that needs to be solved, you design a solution. It's like a game. And when I say game, it's serious business, but it's like a game. You make it, and then you are now given a new situation, right? That this has happened, and this can no longer happen. And now you're testing how you're going to change your adjust the strategy or adjust your execution to make sure that you're meeting the goals. Right? Strategy needs to have goals, right? In terms of market share, in terms of revenue growth, in terms of profit growth, in terms of regional growth, or whatever that might be, right? Or setting up a new business, or creating a new customer experience, or etc. So basically, that is one way in which you get people to practice. And I think the second is make sure that at least your top performers with high potential, you are placing them into different roles over a period of time. If people keep doing the same thing over and over again over a long period of time, they are going to become a bit of frog in the well. It doesn't matter how smart they are, right? So by building breadth in them, by moving them, you're going to build multiple areas of expertise. And this is something that you also talked about, Dr. Mr. Sharan. So that's one. I think if I come to behavioral things, then you can take a different approach, right? So suppose you are in 40 countries, you have people of 40 nationalities, and you still need to have a common culture. You can't have 40 different cultures in the company. Or India is one country, but if you go to different parts of the country, there are different cultures, across different geographies within India, right? Working in Chennai is not the same as working in Mumbai, or it's not the same as working in Kolkata or Delhi. So there must be a common core which is similar, but how it manifests could vary across, regions and across people, right? So you create a culture, right? And you define it. What does it mean? How are we going to live it? And then you figure out a way for people to practice it on an everyday basis. And the more you do this, the more people become better, and you keep doing. For example, when we launched a version of culture at Tata Communications a few years ago, we used to call it Drive, right? It's an acronym. For example, I is for inclusion, V is for venturing, E is for ethics, and etc. Right? D is for daring. Now we created a very specialized game, and we said that everybody needs to really play the game, go to the third level, and once you complete the third level, you are going to get a driver's license, right? So we played on Drive, right? You get a drive. So it was a game, that you need to have a license in the company to play in the company, to have a driving license, right? So it became a game. People got involved. Then the Play-Doh, the clay, we sent clay to all the employees around the world and say that based on your understanding of Drive, can you make something out of Play-Doh that reflects Drive, you think, right? And we had a social platform within the company, and we just go ahead and post it, the picture of that, and why do you think, and let others comment, right? So you invite large number of people doing something and other people commenting on it, then it becomes very, very powerful, right? So you have to design vehicles through which you can propagate, and then you have to set up measures on how well it is working, right? And one of the ways in which it can be measured is through annual employee surveys, right? Because for example, if ethics is very important to you, once in a year you ask employees that give a simple statement that the day-to-day working in the company is ethical, and let's see what employees say about it, right? If suppose 60% employees say it's ethical, that means 40% employees are not sure, right? So now you have to reduce these 40% people go towards zero. And while you're doing it, suppose you have 50,000 employees, you have 10% attrition, you're going to be losing 5,000 people every year, right? And suppose you're growing at, staffing is growing at 10%. That means you will not only be replacing 5,000 people, you would also be hiring 5,000 additional people. So for this 5,000 loss and 10,000 gain, you're no longer the same company that you were last year, right? So how do you inculcate them into the culture, right? That becomes a challenge. So it's not a one-time process. So you have to define the problem in great detail, like any engineering problem, and then figure out how you're going to solve it.
Yeah, great. Actually, one thing that I have learned out of my experience, especially as an exporter where I have to deal with multiple nationalities, multiple cultures. First of all, let me tell you that the basic values of ethics do not really change. As far as a human being is concerned, the rights and wrongs basically foundation wise do not change. And it is the strength of any manager to be able to use the culture, the ethics, the value systems of a country to merge with the value systems, ethics, and culture of the organization. I think if you're able to achieve that, then you would have lesser attrition, you will have lesser number of people who are dissatisfied, and you would have higher uh, level of satisfaction and work growth. This is what I feel about it. I hope you
Yes.
agree.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Okay. Now, my next question to you. First question is, it is 19 or 12. So how much more can I go on? I would like
Why
the
don't we have
organizers to
one?
tell me.
Why don't we have one more question, sir? And if required, I can come back some other time because I have something to attend to at 7:30. So, and I need
Okay.
10 minutes
Okay,
of
so
preparation time before that.
one more question it would be, and I would, before the question, I would thank you profusely for your fantastic width and spectrum of knowledge and for the experience that you have accumulated over the last 40 odd years that you said. And I can see a lot of resonance in it out of the more than 45 years experience that I have, that yes, what you are saying makes a lot of sense. So my next question, and unfortunately the last one, though we would have
Yes.
had like to have a few more, is could you talk about a major transformation initiative you led that brought about measurable organizational change through digital or cultural innovation? Is my question clear, or would you like me to
Yes,
repeat
sir.
it?
Yes, sir, it's very clear. And I think
Thank
it's
you.
a very important question.
Yeah.
You know, when there is new technology, we all want to use it, right? One way or the other. And sometimes creating a project to implement and use a new technology becomes bigger than why we're doing it, right? So the portion of your question related to measurable organizational change is very, very important, right? So I think the answer, 50% answer of the question is there in the question that you asked. Now let me stick to the learning on demand and the new skills that are needed in the companies for the new strategy and the vision for 3 to 5 years, because I wouldn't have to then describe the context once again, because context is very important and I can focus on the impact part, right? So why do we need new
Sorry, your voice is cracking.
now? They are, for example, at a board level. Can you hear me now, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you
Can you
now.
hear me now?
Yeah, I can
Yes,
hear
yes.
you now.
Okay. Okay, sir. So there are multiple ways in which you can measure the impact. And the reason I'm going to give multiple examples is that it depends on the company which measure they choose in advance for the reason of doing that project. So it has to be impact and change in the outcome needs to be decided in advance, not while you are implementing it or after you implement it, because the goal is important. You can start walking, but you could come back to the same place, or you can have a very interesting walk. But if you wanted to reach Jaipur and you didn't, then it just remains an interesting walk. So, for example, at Tata Communications, example that I'll give you, uh, the law requires every board to have an enterprise risk committee. And we set up a risk committee at a board level, we set up a risk committee at a management level. And we identify skills of the future as one of the top 10 enterprise risks. And we had a rationale for it. We looked at about 50 total risks. We interviewed a lot of people within the company. We studied many reports and then identified the top 10. And then we presented to the board. And the skills for the future was one of the 10. Now, after we implemented so one of the things that we had to solve was that the risk needs to be mitigated. And within 2 years of implementing the learning on demand solution, we were able to, when we looked at this was an yearly process to review, right? And the management felt that skills of the future is no longer a top 10 enterprise risk. It was not because we had all the skills that are we going to need in the future. Because there's no way for top skills that are still emerging, you cannot have them in advance, right? First of all, there is paucity. Number two, there's a lot of demand. Number three, why would people come if you don't even have work for them, right? So they need to come at the right time. But we were able to get confidence that through this, we will be able to build the skills that we need in the future. That is no longer an issue. Right? So that is one problem, one impact that we solved. The second is, if you look at the top 10 drivers of employee experience and employee engagement, opportunities for learning and whether I am learning enough in the right way that I want to learn is one of the top 5 drivers among the top 10 for employees. And we used to do an annual survey through which we'll ask every employee, and typically we would have about 95% employees participate. And we started to see that score increase dramatically, right? So from the point of view of employees, that was very important, right? And because we had a certain vision about our internal employee brand, and we had certain goals related to employee engagement, our employee engagement score started to increase. The third is that we had about, I would say 200 leaders, we had about 1,000 managers in the company. And they had a certain need for skill development for their teams. And what was the perception and judgment of managers and leaders on whether they are able to develop new skills in their teams, either through developing existing employees or by hiring employees from other groups within the company or by hiring from outside. We used to track that, and that started to that score started to increase. And the fourth is, and this becomes a little bit longer term, you cannot necessarily measure it every year, that 5-year plan where we talked about new businesses using these skills, we had a certain growth plan and a revenue plan for that. Are we gravitating towards that in the right way? So this is how you measure the impact of the digital transformation programs that you undertake. Back to you, Mr. Sharan.
Right. Thank you. All right. So, much as we would like to continue, time and tide wait for none, like I said before. So, thank you very much.
Ravindra, I
It
have a
was a
question.
real.
I'm sorry about that. I have a very simple question, straight question and straight answer for Aadesh. Why is there rubble in the channel?
There is some noise on your line, Jan. Maybe you can put it in the chat. I
No,
can't
no, no, no.
understand.
There's no noise. I'm in a silent room.
No, there was. Now I can hear you clearly.
Okay. So Aadesh, you are known as a more humane HR head than so-called cutthroat kind of HR heads. You have always had long tenures in wherever you worked. You have survived mergers, you have survived name changes, you have survived G2 Gen Pact, etc., etc. Now, in case DSPSR wishes to uh, have your blessings, in what ways can we collaborate? And what would be the boundaries?
Thank you very much for the kind words, Jana. If I can help in any way, either the faculty, the students, through dialogue, I'm really happy to do that. And I live in Gurgaon, so I'd prefer that we do this virtually to the extent possible. But if once in a while it requires, me to come there, I'd be happy to do that. Simply from the point of view of being helpful. I hope that answers your question.
See, there is a plan in place, which is 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year plan in DSPSR to make it as a temple of education, temple of innovation, and a lot of initiatives are under the process. We are having tie-ups, we are having separate different level of interventions where we make people corporate ready, we take requirements from corporates, have extra classes for them, and when those people actually sit for interview, they're actually very optimal resources, value for money, compared to what you get from the market. And like this, a lot of initiatives are going on. Academic acumen of students, on that initiative, there a lot of work is going on. Then branding of the institute, a lot of initiatives are going on. So can I won't take DSPSR, but can I expect, in case we ever need your help, you would be available?
Yeah,
Because you are a big guy.
That's a very broad question. I can answer broadly, yes, I'm happy to help to the extent possible, but I think such a thing requires a bit of a little bit more specific discussion. Because the answer to every question can't be yes. So I think if you have something specific in mind, why don't we have a chat and figure it out?
Sure. That is more than enough. That's more than enough. Thank you so much, Aadesh.
Thank you, Dhyan.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for a lovely session. And
Thank you, Aadesh. Thank you, Aadesh, and thank you, say, Ravindra Sharanji, for making it a very purposeful session today.
thank you very much.
Thanks, Dhyan,
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. These kind of experiences are always enriching, and they always lead you to learn more and grow more, and wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.